Bi Yun-ho from the White Tiger side and Choi Jong-in from the Hunters Association were present. The journalist just pointed the camera at the two of them and asked if they came here because of El Min-sung. Bi didn't even know who they were talking about. Luckily, Jong-in heard the news that the young man had signed a contract with the Death Association. "We're coming today. This is because of something else." Hearing that, the reporters left so that the two guild leaders could go inside. By the way, Bi Yun-ho also mentioned the A-rank gate, but brought about the S-rank danger that had just happened. Choi Dong-in also teased back, saying that it was as dangerous as the red gate that caused the famous hunter A on the White Tiger side to lose his life. Both sides exchanged words and finally mentioned Jinyu. Currently, both guilds were grateful to him for standing up to prevent the disaster. Just like that, the two friends turned to fight each other, asking why they were adding more S-rank hunters. Or were they planning to compete for the top Gue position? The situation was tense. Then the guild leader of the Death God side came over to tease them and said that they were aiming at their Min-sung. The two brothers angrily turned back and cursed. "I told you I didn't know who that guy was." But they were still very in sync, making the other friends speechless. Jinyu looked on from the outside, not understanding why it was so crowded today. He was busy checking again, so it was a bit awkward. The scene changed to school. At this time, Gina and Song-wai were talking and saw the group of friends were talking about the person they admired becoming a hunter. The association was very lively before the appearance of El Min-sung. This young man stood up to speak about his recent awakening with the rank A title. He affirmed that he would devote himself to the country under the leadership of the President Lim Tae-go. Regarding the issue of withdrawing from the entertainment industry, this young man secretly thought that there was no way that could happen. After being designated as a rank A hunter with a 2-year contract with the Death God Gue, it would be a stepping stone for advancement in the future. When he returned, his reputation would definitely spread even further than before. At this moment, he stepped in to conduct an appraisal, but he was stopped by El Min-sung's bodyguard and asked if he saw the journalist working. "Jinyu asked me to come here for something, but I still wasn't allowed to pass." Min-sung secretly thought that this guy doesn't know how to feel anything. The bodyguard also chased him away, saying that the road was blocked. Then the President Gun Hai came out and said that stopping others without permission would cause trouble. He said that he was his guest and asked if the other party had any other opinions. No, in addition, he remembered that there was an announcement to suspend all interviews at this time, but Lee Min-sung was too timid to say anything. So he let the President Gun H bring the matter to the menial. The incident made the press even more crazy when he personally stood up to welcome Jinyu. Everyone was very curious about who he was, making Min-sung angry and wanting to attract attention, but unfortunately, Jin Chun stopped him. The young man whispered and asked him who he was. He was no longer as intimidating as he was. Just one word from him would make him lose his seat. Jin Chun said that even though he didn't know who Min-sung was, if he dared to cause trouble again, don't blame him. The two big guys also stood up and greeted him. At the same time, they wanted to know how terrible the men's real abilities were, because there weren't many S-rank people. If the recruitment was successful, this would be a big turning point in their careers. Jinyu entered a closed room with only 3 people before making the final decision. The association wanted to know more about his abilities. Hearing that, the young man immediately summoned him. How to Ghost Soldier said this is his ability when asked about it being a summoning magic well. It also agreed to let it go, but in reality, it wasn't. The old man Hun Hai saw that you hit it too well and weren't honest at all before hearing the head of the department report back. Then surely your power isn't just this much. Jinyu sighed. But anyway, since it's already revealed, then just show it to people. Then immediately the Dark Army appeared, causing the 2 people outside to be shocked. This is still not all, but you can still summon hundreds more individuals. Guild leader Gun looked at this number with wide eyes, even stronger than a big Gue Choi Dong, and felt the terrifying source of magic power, then turned pale. Even Bi Yun-ho was overwhelmed, couldn't compare to Jinyu, so that's the power of the one who helped the 2 big guilds overcome difficulties. A little later, the inspection process was completed. Mo received a new hunter license, which is rank S, then was so happy then could sell the greed gem without fear of being suspected, and at the same time use that money to buy equipment. Conquered by the demon station one more time. My friend also congratulated me because I have achieved the highest title. They have high expectations for the achievements he will achieve in the near future. Jinyu, just like that, on the way back, the 2 presidents stood up to welcome me. Dong-in hoped that today he would have some time to thank the gate incident recently, but I said no. Immediately passed by and said I have an appointment. Before they could stop me, he opened the door and walked out. The result was that the reporter pointed the camera at his face. The news about the 10th rank S hunter also spread widely, but the doctor at school was shocked and had to ask Gina again if he was seeing things. Both were also shocked. They didn't expect him to get so much attention. On the construction site, the people who worked with Gene the other day were the same. The big guy thought I was a murderer, but when he looked back, he was scared to death. His acquaintances were very happy to see this news because they all loved me. The press glared at him. He went to interview the 10th rank S hunter, turning Lai Min-sung into a joke on the side. Jin-ho was also sadly talking to his father about not being able to convince his brother to join the Jinyu Guild, saying that he had something important to do alone, so he would fight more, and if he joined any organization, he would be entangled. The best way was to form a new guild and invite his younger brother and the team. His father asked him if he knew that was selfish. Originally, this plan was assigned to Jin-sung, but he intervened and ruined everything. Now he was planning to shirk responsibility and leave the team. Jin-ho still decided to go with Jinyu, his beloved brother. Hearing that, his father also wanted to make things clear on this matter. On his side, he was advised to go with him. He refused, saying it was fine, and disappeared before the eyes of many players. Dong-in was speechless. What kind of mage system could he move like that? He turned to look at his friend. His face was cold and bloodless. This speed was something he couldn't see. Compared to that night, Jinyu was even more terrifying. More confusing for Biho about him after being announced as S-class, he immediately went to find equipment. What he needed to find was a defensive artifact with fire resistance attribute. The seller introduced him to a high-class cloak, which made him quite satisfied, but the price was exorbitant, which made him confused. They also said that if he could break this glass, they would send it for free. As soon as he finished speaking, Jinyu intended to do it for real but was stopped, saying that he was just joking around because if he did, the security team would come and cause trouble for the old man. He was scared out of his wits because before he could do it, the glass that the store was proud of was broken by Jinyu's pressure. He asked about the price of the Tondon swords, but they were so expensive, it was just a low-level monster's poison fang. And it was like this. Suddenly, Xinyu New York had an idea, pulled out the knife he bought in the store, and asked how much this was worth after observing that it was so delicately made. They thought it would sell for about 100 million. Jinyu was confused because this thing was bought there for only 2.8 million gold. If that's the case, then there's no need to sell greedy jade. Just buy weapons from the system and sell them again. That night, Yun-ho sat thinking. He was the one who had contact with M twice. Even though he knew it was very strong, he had improved so much in such a short time. He wondered if Jinyu could become even stronger. Or maybe he was a hunter with infinite development abilities. Early in the morning, Gina looked out the window and was bored. Luckily, in the end, everyone had left because the association intervened. The little brother scolded his brother. Since he was famous, he had to live a decent life. He conveniently said that tomorrow he would be away from home for another week, making his little sister confused. Right at that moment, Jean called to ask to stay because after arguing with his father, he was kicked out. He looked at him with a bored look and pretended that he would go on a business trip with his younger brother tomorrow. He was squeezed by the shoulder. The younger brother understood and had to act along to trick Gina. At night, because he was worried about his younger sister, he called the bodyguards of the old man and saw that one was missing. He asked and found out that the other one was still on the ceiling. Jinyu gave a guard 2 more soldiers to ensure Gina's safety while he was away, so he crawled into her shadow. Conveniently, he also arranged security around the area with infantry soldiers as a contribution to society. The next morning, the 2 brothers started moving, talking about going somewhere for a week. I said something like practicing more, which surprised my younger brother. After fully equipping, Jinyu no longer felt hot. The next mission appeared, asking to collect the soul of the demon Lord Baron. The reward would be the shadow swapping skill. It sounded so attractive. Jinyu suddenly had more motivation to plow the country. Just like that, he teleported to the 76th floor to fight on the side of the family. Jinho was talking about chasing his son away. His mother felt sorry for him, so she felt quite absent. His father saw this as a good opportunity for him to be independent. Suddenly, his body had a strange phenomenon and passed out on the spot. He returned to him. After meeting a monster as big as several buildings, he summoned his body. Solved. Jin Yu equipped the demon general with the greedy gem, doubled the power after transforming into a giant, immediately launched a killing move, and shot straight at the enemy. Jin Yu intended to test it out a bit, but unexpectedly, it evaporated more than an area. Seeing that TUC used the greedy gem so effectively, he also let this demon general keep it healthy at the hospital. Dwinho was diagnosed with eternal sleep disease, which would make him constantly sleepy until at some point he would not be able to wake up again. Ironically, living in a world filled with magic power, he himself had no resistance, so he contracted this unexplained disease. The scene changed to a certain island at this time. Suddenly, a monster appeared. This was the ant species that once terrified hunters. Jean was quite idle at this time. He divided his army into many small groups like that. Sweeping would be more effective. To get to the upper floors, he needed a pass. If he found it quickly, his progress in climbing the tower would also increase. Currently, 2 days have passed, but Jean Yu is still stuck on the 80th floor. Occasionally, his mana would decrease, making him realize the problem. There is someone destroying his shadow soldiers. No wonder the search progress is slow. Sit down and analyze. Jean Yu realized that the people who took down the soldiers all targeted the weak groups, proving that the opponent was quite smart. After guessing that the next target to be attacked was my group, he had already ambushed them. As expected, 4 fully armed demons appeared. Their abilities were quite high, easily defeating the bears. Seeing that, the Xinyu appeared and immediately became the new target. However, the progress was clear when with just one kick, that demon went to court. His teammates saw that and rushed in to steal, but were also slashed to pieces before him. He always wondered if monsters knew fear. Finally, he had the answer.
Hey there, darling. I know this is a new channel, but I really need your support. So please hit that subscribe button. It's just like joining a squad, and trust me, you don't want to miss out on all the fun. So come on, darling. Let's dive into more epic recaps together. Once again, please subscribe.